The chandelier above them glowed like a silent witness. Evelyn's voice barely survived the distance between them. "I've never done this before." The words were soft, but they hit Alexander Blackwood like a gunshot. He froze, for the first time in his life. The man who owned half of Manhattan, the man who bent markets and men with a single phone call, couldn't move. His hand hovered in the air, inches from hers, as if touching her might shatter something fragile and irreversible. She didn't look innocent. That was the problem. Evelyn had walked into his life wearing confidence like armor, sharp eyes, calm posture, no fear of his money or his reputation. Every woman before her had wanted something: power, security, his name. But her confession changed everything. "I don't lie," she added quietly. "I don't play games, and I don't cross lines unless I mean to." Alexander's jaw tightened. In that moment he realized something dangerous. She wasn't asking for permission. She was stepping into a fire she didn't yet understand. "You should walk away," he said, his voice low, controlled. "Before this costs you." Evelyn smiled, not flirtatiously but knowingly. "That's the thing," she replied. "I already decided." Silence swallowed the room. Alexander had built his empire by claiming what others hesitated to: touch, companies, cities, futures. But this was different. This wasn't business. This was a soul standing bare in front of him. He stepped closer, his presence heavy, unavoidable. "If you take this step," he said, "I don't let go. I don't share, and I don't lose." Her breath caught, not from fear, but from recognition. "Then don't lose me," she whispered. Something ancient and ruthless stirred in him. Alexander lifted her chin gently, forcing her to meet his eyes. There was no tenderness there, only certainty. "From this moment," he said, "you are mine, not because I own you, but because you chose me." The city roared beneath the windows, unaware that a line had just been crossed, one that would rewrite both their lives. Evelyn had never done this before, and Alexander Blackwood had just claimed the one thing money had never been able to buy: her soul. Evelyn didn't realize the cost of her choice until the doors locked behind her, not with a sound, but with certainty. Alexander Blackwood's penthouse no longer felt like a luxury. It felt like a throne room where she had willingly knelt without understanding the crown's weight. "You can still leave," he said the next morning, watching her from across the glass wall as the city burned gold beneath the sunrise. She laughed softly. "If that were true, you wouldn't be watching me like that." A muscle in his jaw twitched. Alexander didn't deny it. Instead, he handed her a phone, new, untraceable. "You won't need your old life anymore." That was the moment fear finally whispered in her chest. "What do you mean?" "Won't need." He stepped closer, voice calm, too calm. "My world doesn't allow exits, only deeper levels." Evelyn swallowed. "And if I refuse?" Alexander leaned down, his mouth near her ear. "Then you break yourself trying." She understood then. This wasn't love. This was possession wrapped in devotion. Days turned into nights, measured by rules she hadn't agreed to, but followed anyway. No social media, no unscheduled meetings, no past contacts without his knowledge. And yet, he never touched her without consent, never raised his voice, never lied. That was what made it terrifying, because he didn't control her with force. He controlled her by making her want to stay. But Alexander wasn't the only one watching. At a charity gala, black dresses, crystal glasses, lies polished to perfection. Evelyn felt it, eyes lingering too long, whispers cutting short when she passed. A woman approached her, smile sharp as glass. "You must be the girl who softened him," she said sweetly. "Just be careful." "Careful of what?" The woman leaned closer. "Men like Alexander don't fall in love. They collect." That night, Evelyn confronted him. "Am I just another acquisition?" Alexander didn't answer immediately. He poured 2 glasses of whiskey, handed her one, but she didn't take it. Finally, he said, "Everything I own, I protect." Her voice cracked. "And if I want freedom?" His eyes darkened, not with anger, but something worse. "If you wanted freedom," he said slowly, "you wouldn't still be here." The truth hit her like a bruise. She was still there, because somewhere between his silence and his certainty, Evelyn had begun to disappear, and something stronger, sharper and dangerously loyal was taking her place. and Alexander knew it. He cupped her face, thumb brushing her cheek, not gently. "I didn't claim your soul to cage you," he whispered. "I claimed it so no one else ever could." Evelyn closed her eyes, and for the first time she wondered if escape was even possible, or if she no longer wanted it. Evelyn planned her escape in silence. Not because Alexander watched her, but because he trusted her. That was the mistake. Trust is the loosest chain a powerful man ever wears. She waited for the night he flew to Zurich, leaving behind his guards, his cameras, his control systems, at least the ones she thought she understood. Her heart didn't race when she packed. It ached, like she was amputating a part of herself. By dawn, she was gone. No note, no goodbye, only absence. The city swallowed her quickly. A rented apartment, a new name, cash that hadn't touched a bank in years. For the first time in weeks, she breathed without permission. 3 days passed. Then her phone rang. A private number. She didn't answer. The 4th day, her landlord knocked. "Package for you." Inside, a single black envelope. No address, no stamp. Just 4 words written in Alexander's handwriting. "You were never lost." Her blood turned cold. She ran. What Evelyn didn't know, what Alexander never bothered to explain, was that his empire wasn't built on money. Money was just the surface. Underneath were favors, secrets, erased identities, politicians who owed him silence, men who no longer officially existed. Alexander didn't search for people. He remembered them. When he finally found her, it wasn't dramatic. No shouting, no guards, no punishment. Just Alexander, standing across the street from her cafe, watching her through rain-soaked glass like the night they first met. She walked out to him on her own. "You said I could leave," she said, voice shaking. "I said you could try. That's not freedom." "No," he agreed. "That's choice." She looked at him then, not as a lover, not as a captor, but as the architect of a world too vast to escape. "You let me go," she whispered. "Just to prove you could take me back." He stepped closer. "I let you go," he corrected, "because you needed to see what life without me actually costs." Tears burned her eyes, not because he was right, but because she felt it. The emptiness, the fear, the way the world suddenly felt loud and unsafe without him shaping the shadows. Alexander brushed a raindrop from her cheek. "You don't belong to me because I claimed you," he said softly. "You belong to me because you came back." Evelyn closed her eyes, and that was the most terrifying truth of all. She hadn't been captured. She had returned. Evelyn stopped asking for freedom. That was the first change. The second came when Alexander brought her into a room no one else entered. No guards, no assistants, no cameras. Just a wall of screens and a table covered in files stamped with names that didn't officially exist. "This," he said, "is the part of my world I never planned to share." She flipped one folder open. Inside were lives, manufactured scandals, erased crimes, rewritten histories, corporations destroyed without lawsuits, men ruined without fingerprints, entire futures redirected with a signature. Her stomach tightened. "This is how you control them," she said. Alexander watched her carefully. "No," he replied. "This is how I protect what matters." She looked up at him then, eyes sharp, unafraid. "And what happens," she asked, "when you are the one exposed?" The question landed harder than any accusation. Alexander was silent. That's when he realized it. She wasn't trembling. She wasn't horrified. She was thinking. "You don't need another soldier," Evelyn continued. "You need someone they don't see coming." Days later, she attended her first closed-door meeting. Not beside him, but across the table. Men twice her age dismissed her with smiles that faded when she spoke. She didn't threaten. She didn't beg. She knew things. By the end of the night, 2 alliances shifted. One man resigned. Voluntarily. Another called Alexander. The next morning to apologize for disrespecting her. That was the night Alexander understood the truth. He hadn't claimed her soul. He had awakened it. "You're changing my empire," he said quietly, watching her city-reflected silhouette against the glass. "No," Evelyn corrected. "I'm making it survivable." He stepped behind her, voice low. "And what do you want in return?" She turned to face him. No fear, no softness. "Equality," she said. "No cages, no illusions. If I fall, you fall with me." Alexander smiled for the first time without dominance. "Then we rule together," he said. "Or we burn together." Far below, the city kept breathing, unaware that its most dangerous power was no longer a man. It was a woman who had learned exactly how the shadows worked. And Evelyn was no longer trying to escape them. She was shaping them. Power always demands proof. Alexander learned that the night the empire bled. It began quietly, numbers not adding up, allies hesitating. Doors that once opened without knocking now closing with polite excuses. Someone inside had spoken. Someone close. Evelyn found the answer before he did. She stood alone in the war room, staring at a single file left open on the table. Her name wasn't on it. His was. A contingency plan. Signed years ago. Activated automatically if Alexander Blackwood ever became a liability. And the trigger condition? Emotional compromise. Her hands didn't shake. That frightened her more than anything else. When Alexander entered, she didn't turn around. "They're moving against you," she said calmly. "By morning you'll be finished." He exhaled slowly. "So it's time." "You knew this day would come," she continued. "You just didn't expect it to wear my face." He walked closer, stopping behind her. "I built the empire to survive me," he said.
"I didn't build it to survive us."
She finally turned. For the first time since they met, Alexander looked human, tired, proud, unafraid. "You can stop it," he said softly. "Burn the files. Kill the switch. Choose me." Evelyn searched his face. This man who had claimed her soul, shaped her fire, turned her into something sharper than love. "I already did choose you," she whispered. Then she pressed the button. By dawn, the world believed Alexander Blackwood had resigned. Health reasons. Quiet exit, dignified silence. His assets were frozen, his influence redistributed. His name slowly erased from the circles that once worshipped it. Nobody. No scandal. Just absence. They never found him. Only Evelyn remained. She ruled differently, cleaner, colder, untouchable. The empire stabilized, stronger than before. Markets obeyed. Enemies disappeared. History rewrote itself around her. Years later, a journalist asked her one question. "Did you love him?" Evelyn paused. Love was a small word for what they had done to each other. "Yes," she said finally. "Enough to end him." That night, alone in the penthouse, she stood by the window where it all began. The city lights blurred like distant memories. On the table behind her sat one final glass of whiskey, untouched. "For the man who taught me power," she murmured, "and the woman who survived it." Somewhere in the silence, something felt like forgiveness. Or maybe it was just the echo of a soul once claimed and a heart that chose the empire over salvation. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like and subscribe.